tēnā koutou e whakarongo mai nei ki tēnei o ngā hōtaka o Koniahi Kōrero, ko Te Aorangi tēnei e me I kau atu ki koutou katoa I tēnei o ngā rā. Nā kei te kite koutou e mātakitaki mai nei I tēnei pāpā o tanga ki runga I a pukamata, tēnei pāpā o tanga mata ora. Ko wai kei taku taa, tētai o ngā uri o Ngāruahine rangi, o Ngāti tū. O Ngāti Maru hoki e ai ki te kōrero. Engari, ka waiho ki aia, ki te wakamoho atu ki te katoa. Ko wai ia, nohea ia, aua āhuatanga. Engari, kei te mihi hoki ki koutou rā e wakarongo mai ana ki runga I tō tātou nei taonga o te maunga nei, o te korimako, o Taranaki. Nā reira e Chelsea, tēnā koe, nau mai, haere mai ki tēnei o ngā pai, ana ka tuku te rākau ki koe, keia koe te wā.
Tēnā koe Te Aorangi. O tira tēnā koutou e wakarongo mai ana, e mātakitaki mai ana ki tēnei o ngā ōtaka o Koniahi Kōrero, ki tēnei o ngā taonga me ki o te korimako o Taranaki. Ko ai au, ko Chelsea Rennie tōku ingoa. Heuri tēnei no tō tātou tau eke maunga a Taranaki. He hononga tāku ki ngā iwi e wari. E tika ana te kōrero ko Ngāruahine tōku iwi matua. O reira ki te taho tōku māma, he uri hoki au no te tai rāwhiti, no Ngāti Parau, ki tētahi taone iti ko Tiki Tiki, ara ko te whānau painga tērā, ki te taho tōku māma hoki no konei, ara ko te whānau Luke tērā, ki te taho tōku pāpā, he uri no te awa tipua, ara ko te whānau Chase. He uri hoki no Ngāti tūwharetua, ara ko te whānau rāhira tērā. Mō reira, tēnā koutou.
Jeez, I must seem so one-eyed, eh? I must just seem so one-eyed to everyone who listens in when I'm like, she's from Ngāruahine, Ngāti tū. And I only said Ngāti Maru because you know why I said Ngāti Maru, Chelsea. Because she's registered to play for Taranaki tū, and you all know how I feel about that right now. Nah, jokes. And I should have actually, I did know about your Ngāti Porou wakapapa too, because your mum messaged in for us to mihi to your grandfather for his birthday. And he had turned 80. Was it 80? He had turned 80, yeah. And I thought that was a mean-ass milestone to be celebrating. Nā reira, nau mai e Chelsea me o pākaranga maha kei wainganui a tāua I tēnei wā. So for those of you who don't know Chelsea, that'd be strange, but if you don't know Chelsea, she's a teacher at Te Kura o Ngāruahine. And so I thought, well, she's one of our up and comings as well. Why not have a little chitty chat to Chelsea? And one of the points of interest at this point in time, obviously, and we will get to it further on in the kōrero, but just in case people are going to be thinking about where this is going to head, is we're going to talk about Te Mana Kuratahi I Te Whānau. And so that is the primary school national kapahaka competition that we have three of our kura, two groups who will be participating in that. So there you go. But before we get there, Chelsea, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you were brought up or where you were raised, and and how that's impacted on where you are right now.
Okay, ka pai. Growing up, we moved around to quite a few places. So he hoia, I roto tōku pāpā I te, he hoia tōku pāpā. wara, rua tekau, niki atu I te rua tekau tana noho hei hoia. So obviously we moved like every 5 to 6 years. So growing up, I lived in Waiōuru. I went to Kohanga Reo there. And then I went on to primary school. I was put into a he ruma reorua. And then for maybe 3 years. And then we moved to Wellington, where I was actually, my mum and dad thought to put myself and my brother, who's a year younger than me, into a kura auraki. And so this is all new to me. And so I'm used to, you know, Waiōuru, small. So we only had like 10 to 20 kids in each class. And then I was put into this big school that went from primary all the way up to intermediate. And it was a huge culture shock. Even though I was only like 8 then, I tino rongo. So I used to cry like every day. Even though I went there with my brother and I was fortunate enough to be put, oh, actually, no, we weren't put into the same class. So I was used to being with my brother all the time. And then going there, I was put into my own class. So it was just year 5, let's say, year 4. And then, so I was crying every day. And I only lasted there for maybe a few weeks, I think, from what I remember. If I lasted longer, well, I don't remember because I didn't like it. And so my mum and dad actually pulled us both out of there. And we ended up at another primary school called Māori Bank School. And it's like cliche as that sounds. It was still a kura auraki, but they had a ruma reorua, which I loved. It was still but it was a small school, you know. So we moved. So the school that I was at was in Silverstream, Silverstream, and then we moved over to Upper Hutt to a small school called Māori Bank Primary School. And I loved it there. So I stayed there up until I was year 8, and then I hunuku au ki te kura kaupapa Māori o Te Aorangi mo ngā tau e rua. So form, not even form. Year 7 for my intermediate years, year 7, year 8. Yeah, year 7, year 8. So I was at Māori Bank till year 6. Year 7, year 8, I went to Te Kura Kaupapa Māori o Te Aorangi for 2 years. And yeah, tino rawe, koera taku wā tuatahi ki tētahi kura kaupapa. Ka reo e mōhio he kura aho matua. But you don't really realize that you're in a kura aho matua because it's just a part of the whole living and environment of the kura. I was actually really nervous going there because I thought, oh, kura kaupapa. Oh no, me uki te reo Māori ngā wā katoa. Because although I went to Kohanga Reo and then into bilingual classes, I was still finding that confidence in myself to, like, in terms of my reo. I pai. So, I noho ki reira mo ngā tau e rua katahi I hunuku anō, nā te mea I neke anō mātou, I neke ki te papai oia. So Dad was then moved over to the Linton Army camp. And then I had a choice to either go to St. Joseph's Māori Girls College or Te Turakina Māori Girls College. And I had never really lived far from my parents. Well, I actually never did. And so I chose to go to Te Turakina Māori Girls College because it was still down the road. Yeah, and I sported 5 days a week, 5 days. And then I went home in the weekend. So I was at Te Turakina Māori Girls College 2005 to 2009 for my 5 years of college. And yeah, I loved it there. I met a whole lot of different wahine Māori from different walks of life. And, you know, some came, some left. But when I started, there were about 36 in my form. Oh, and I was listening to you on the radio the other day, and you were talking about forms and years. I was thinking, we were in that kind of, like, I'm in that age group where it was still forms, but they were bringing in years. So totally know the forms. So
yay!
Yeah, and so when I started there were about 36 in my form. By the time I finished, there were only about 7 of us that finished that 7th form. And then you know, you get to your 7th form or maybe earlier, and you think, oh my gosh, I'm nearly finished college. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Even though, like, in your earlier years of college, you think, I can't wait until I'm older. I can't wait till I'm an adult. And then the years come to an end and you're like, I don't want to leave. And so, yeah, and because because I've got an older sister who I also look up to, and my mum and dad, you know, full-time workers, and I was, just thinking, what does life have to offer me? Who am I? Who am I going to be? And so I always, for a long time, I always wanted to be a pediatrician, a children's doctor. And again, because I just had that love for our tamariki. And so I wanted to help in that sector. But I didn't really support myself, like, in terms of the subjects that I needed to go on to do that. So the other, you know, after having wānanga with my parents, the other option was to go and do nursing. And so I went to, after finishing college in 2009, I went to Massey in Palmy. I enrolled there for nursing, and I only lasted a semester. So by the time I finished school, in my 7th form, I was 17. You know, I thought I was ready for the world, and then I only lasted a semester because, I don't know, my mind wasn't in that right frame of mind. I wasn't pushing myself, and I wasn't I just wasn't ready. And so I finished my semester, and I still stayed in uni, but I went on to do psychology for a semester. And I didn't like that either. It's just big in university. Yeah. You're only, another thing was I only saw myself as a number. So I didn't really feel supported by, by the university. And I had my parents. Yeah. And I just put myself off. And so I finished off, and I actually went to find work experience. So I didn't want to go and sign up with Work and Income because I thought, oh no, that, what do you call it? You know how Work and Income, and people think, oh, you're just a bum.
Like a stigma.
Yeah. And that's what I had in my mind. But, my parents being who they are, they were very supportive. They said, this doesn't define who you are. This is just here to support you for the time being until you figure out what you need to do. And so, so that's what I did. I went and signed up with Work and Income. Oh, and I hated it. The system, I mean. Just trying to work to what they had to do. And they just make you feel really low. And that was, tera. So I ended up, actually throughout my college years, I was working in the holidays at Subway. So that was actually my first job. So just going back a bit. So I think I was about 16 when I got my first job in Subway. So I would work, you know, in the weekends, school holidays, and because those were the kind of people my parents were, you know, they weren't really about like, here you go and get you some clothes. Yeah, we had to work for our money.
Yeah.
and I love that too, because, you know, do the mahi, get the treats, and
yeah,
so
instilling a work ethic, right?
Yeah, so that was awesome. So Subway was my first job. I was still working there when I went to Massey, and then I finished up there because I ended up I just couldn't do the travel from Bulls to Palmy, being a student. And so I finished up there, and then once I finished up at Massey, I ended up working at McDonald's back in Bulls for about a month, and then part-time. And then I was like, you know, because I was older then too, I was like, oh, I need to do something else. So I ended up applying for a job at StudyLink. So I worked being on work and income side, and I ended up getting a job at StudyLink in Palmy. So I was there on a 6-month contract as a as a processor. I can't even remember the word.
Okay.
So I would process applications as they were coming in, and yeah, that was awesome. I learned heaps of new skills, like just as simple as sending a formal email and all that, communicating with people over the phone, and so that was awesome. I was there for 6 months, and then I could have gone on longer, but it was my brother-in-law's birthday, and I had, you know, prior to signing up to this job, I had already said I'd go, and it was an overseas trip to Thailand. So this was my first overseas trip, and so planned it all, tagged along with my sister, and I could have stayed on longer, but because I had already, you know, paid for my trip with the help of my sister, I let my boss know, and she said, well, you know, you can either stay on longer or you can go on your trip, but you have to finish your job here. And so I was like, yeah, okay, I'm going. Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah, I don't plan to be here forever anyway. So yeah, ka kite. Yeah, so I finished up there, and then I traveled. And so then in 2013, 2013, I moved. My parents moved from, because they were still living in Martin at this time, so they moved from Martin to New Plymouth, and which was awesome because, you know, it's home. And although we had always, you know, growing up, we always had strong links with our whānau in Taranaki, but actually moving to Taranaki was like, this is cool.
Yeah.
And my mum was excited. My parents were excited. At that time, my 3 younger brothers were still living at home, and so I moved over with them. And then I went into a hospitality course at WIT. And then again, and then I was working at KFC while I was studying as well. And then I thought, and then, you know, I started thinking again, what do I want to do? And so I thought about teaching. And I thought, teaching's got to be easy. Surely I can do it. And because mum being a teacher, and so I enrolled for to start course in 2014 at Te Wānanga o Aotearoa in Waikato. And so I started my course in 2014. I finished in 2016, graduated in 2017. Ka tahi riro au I tōku tūranga hei kaako ki Te Kura o Ngāruahine rangi I te taurua mano te kaumawhitu.
Ana, nā mātou te honore nui, ne? I don't know what I thought I was going to hear, Chelsea, but I never thought I was going to hear all of that, to be honest. I was thinking, oh, yeah, she must have left college and then i uru ia ki tētahi o ngā wānanga, I whiwhi aia tōna, I riro I aia tōna tohu mātauranga o te kaiako, mahi kaiako ana, I tau mai ia ki roto I tō tātou nei kura, but no, it wasn't like that at all. And I think that is a good little kōrero for any of our rangasai who are listening in, so they understand. You don't always know what you're going to do straight off the bat, you know, and life can take you on many different pathways before you find your place. So would it be fair to say that you went from you've gone through all of these things and then you've decided that you're going to stick with you're going to go get your tohu, and now what? So 2017, did you start with us?
Yes, 2017,
18, 19, 20. So it's nearly 5 years.
Yeah, and it's gone so fast. I remember at my interview, and so when we graduated, when we finished the year, and I just applied because I got a scholarship while studying through teaching Z, and so I was I was binded to teaching Z for 3 years. I had to teach full time for 3 years, and so as soon as I finished, I was like, okay, applying everywhere. I went on to all the sites and I applied everywhere, like from the North Island all the way down to the South. I didn't care where I got a job. And then when we finished in 2016, and because Mum was teaching at Te Pihinga at this time, she said that they needed relievers. And so, we went in to relieve, and Whaimoana actually asked, like, tērā pia katoa te kimi tētahi tūranga mōu kia noho mai hei kaiako. So I was like, cool. But I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know if it looked like full-time, part-time, even though at the time I was after anything. And then I saw the ad for kaiako at Te Kura Ngāruahine rangi, and and I applied for that. And then and because remember when I said earlier on that when I went into a kura kaupapa, I didn't have that confidence for my reo. And so it kind of stuck with me as I grew up. And so when I was going in for my interview, I was thinking, oh no, is it going to be in full te reo Māori? And I was trying to do my background research on the kura, and I couldn't really find too much. But then I went into my interview, and everyone's talking to me in Māori. I was like, damn, me uki te reo Māori. And because when you get, you've got it in here.
Yeah,
you've got it in here, but mo te taha ki te kōrero, koera te mea ua, well, I taua. So I just found it really, really hard trying to get it from here and out here. And I didn't want to get I didn't want to get it wrong. That's what it was. And so when I was on my interview, I asked, they asked me a question. I can't remember what it was. But I asked if I could explain it further in English. And I think it was Rennie. She said, kei te pai, haere tonu. Kōrero tonu I roto I te reo. And I was like, okay. So I carried on. And I felt so comfortable. Even though I was nervous, but I still felt comfortable enough to just, ki te reo Māori. And then I when I got the call to say that I got the position, I was like, woo, like, woohoo, cool. And, but then starting, I was like, holy, like, he kura tūturu tēnei, me reo Māori, pō te ao ao te pō. So when I started, I had 6 tamariki. And the first thing I told them was, kei te ako tonu au te reo, nō reira, ētahi wā, te rape kāre au te mōhio I te whakautu, ngari ka rangahau au. And they're looking at me like, hey? And then they say to me, wait, you're a kaiako.
Oh, did they say that?
You know, because you think like, if you're a kaiako, you should know everything.
That's because ko tērā te ki o ngā mātua. Mena ka pātai mai tētahi pātai kia mātou, ko tāku kia rātou. Pātai a te kito kaiako. Oh, that's awesome. He rawe. So it is easy to say that. I think even just as someone who's listening into like a small part of your story, really, is that those founding years, I guess, for you, kohanga reo, then going into that ruma reo Māori or reo rua, and then, you know, the shock of going to this mainstream school and being one of hundreds, and then not even in the same class as your brother anymore. And, you know, obviously that was persuasive enough for your parents to realise, oh, no, this isn't the best decision, and then taking you to Kura, kaupapa Māori, and then even the transition into a Māori boarding school, you know, with a Māori influence. E hari te mea I roto I te reo, ngā akoranga au a ahuatangi engari ko te ia o te noho, ko te Māori, and then staying close to home. That's what I'm hearing, you know. You had a real good grounding with your parents, and they had already put in a good work ethic within you. So, and then having the freedom, in a sense, to, it's okay, you went to nursing, didn't work out. One semester, knew it wasn't you, went to psychology, and then it was like, nah, that's not me either, because I think a lot of our rangatahi, they feel like they got to know it. I know when I was younger, I felt like, you know, oh gosh, I know I'm going to have to go, I have to go to uni. And I'd kind of lived in my first month at 7th form thinking, oh man, how am I going to get out of this? And then went to uni, just went to uni actually. But then having the confidence also to, when I knew, nah, it's not for me, just to pull out, because I knew I could go back. So ka pai, this is good. This is very good kōrero, because it also touches in on the use of te reo Māori, and you saying, we have it. We've got it. It's right here. But he rite a hau hoki, kei konei, oku wakaro nui, kei te moho au ki oku nei kare a roto, engari mo te whakaputa, te whakahua a kuku. Yeah, ko tērā, he tino uaua tērā moku. So, e mihi ana, but you just got to love our kids, eh? You got to love them.
Totally.
And so that takes us to where you are today. You're, I think if, what would it be? Like, you're one of our kaiako, but I just feel like it's always like a bigger job than that. For example, right now, Chelsea has managed to get herself out of having to take the extra practice this afternoon, and she's here with me. So can you tell us a little bit about, because I'm so interested. Oh, well, no, I'm not going to lie. You know, I'm not a kapahaka person. I'm like, my kids are into it now, so I'm supportive. But, you know, like, so we're at a point in time, it's COVID. Mana kuratahi was to take place and we were supposed to be going down to Nelson, but we're not now. Have I got that right? We're not now, Ray?
Yeah, we're not now.
Yeah. So what's happening for mana kuratahi?
So the Yeah, so it's still competition. However, it's not happening in Nelson now. There were 3 plans put forward. Plan A was if we were at level 1 nationwide, the competition would go ahead as planned. Plan B was if we were at level 2, then it would still be in Nelson, but all of the safety measures would be put in place, such as distancing and all of those. They had Te Mana Kuratahi had planned everything to a T. So everything that you could imagine was in Plan B for if we were at alert level 2. Then Plan C was to go digital. And so what that looks like is they sectioned out each rohe. And this is if we're at level 2, I think. Anyway, they sectioned out each rohe, and so the competition still goes ahead, but we perform a rohe.
Right.
And they record all the performances live, and then broadcast the performance as per the performance schedule, the original performance schedule, at a later date. And once it's broadcasted, then the judging panel would judge by watching the live the broadcast.
Yeah.
So what's happening is we're going off Plan C.
Yeah. Okay. So at the moment, practices are on, and I'm just interested to know, has COVID influenced your, I suppose we can't get too far into it, but the changes with COVID, because every time we see and we see it more with the primary school, like it used to kind of be just the seniors, but now it's political across the board. The little kids, they like, our kids are political. They know about our landscape. They know about our history. It's nothing for them to know what paroko tuko is and all of that, they get all of this stuff. So do you guys look at this time, we're in COVID, what's your inspiration, I guess?
So I feel like although COVID has come yet again and still here, we've just kind of taken that approach as to, like, we're not going to let COVID, stop us from taking the stage and from doing what we need to do, and for our tamariki, because our tamariki have that passion and that drive, and so we're here to continue to push and drive them to their full potential. Yeah.
And so do you hang on a minute, I can't ask these questions now because it's getting like so fun. For those of you who are listening, you'll probably think, what's she on about? Well, I'm trying to like draw out of Chelsea, not so everyone finds out what the program's like, but I want to know like what inspires the compositions and stuff like that. But we might get too close to what the compositions actually are. But okay, let's look backwards then at previous competition or regionals or whatever that you've gone into. Like last year's regionals was a beautiful program. What inspired that? And how do you get that? Do you see something happen and then you're like, oh, I'm going to write about that. Oh, I know the actions to that, like what happens?
Yeah. I feel like you need an interview fitting up for these questions. But if I'm like to think of the space that she gets in when it comes to composing, it's kind of what's happening around us at that time. So last year, we had, it was the Māori party was pumping.
Yeah.
And then we had our own Whaia Debbie, who,
Yes.
you know, got into Parliament and all that. So our waiata aringa was dedicated to her. And the mahi that the Māori party were pumping out. What else happened? And then what else influences our competition, our compositions is like our hitori of our iwi, and so Ngāti Roanui, Ngāruahine, Ngārauru make up our rōpū of te rā o te uru. And so a lot of our compositions as well are based around our iwi history. So, for example, we had one that was about rua pūtahanga. So being able to use our history and also what's happening around us in those times through waiata and haka is so important, because, you know, our kids learn, even though they might think it's just a song, but, you know, we go through what the song means, and so that they connect as well.
So would you say then kapahaka, because to be fair, use the kapahaka for Te Kura o Ngāruahine, there's no one else that's putting their hand up or could even do it, I don't think. Would you agree, like across the board, out of Kura Kaupapa Māori too, that kapahaka is a real vehicle for te reo Māori at the moment?
Yes, I believe it is. It's one of many. Yeah, because, you know, our kids may not realize it, but, you know, haka can take you to the world. And, you know, we've seen that with our adult rōpū, and even just with our local rōpū, like Pātea Māori Club, and how that took them, you know, everywhere. So yeah, definitely a drive of te reo Māori.
And it's, I don't know how you guys feel, but I actually like seeing all of our mainstream schools. What I like about it is I like that I know that I could be anywhere and get up and sing He Piki Ngā Popo, and if a kid in there is from Taranaki, they will know it, because it is being taught at every school within Taranaki. And because I don't have that competitive part of me in regards to kapahaka, I do watch it sometimes and think, oh, we could have got that done better. But I do like that there has over the years been some mōtiatia, and, you know, like the top 10 waiata aringa, you can pretty much guarantee that every kid in Taranaki, even with the haka, even with mangu taipo at the moment, you know, like our sports teams know it. You know, our kura, the kids kura definitely know it, but the schools also, they're getting to know it as well. So, I just think it's a good vehicle to at least bring some type of whanaungatanga for us all around the maunga. So when we go away in unison, and we know some of these songs, what represents all of us. So, you know, moving forward, what do you think's moving forward? Like, we know ngā waihotanga took off last year. You guys couldn't go into the regionals in the end because of COVID, and so then you stood at haka tū, haka ora. What's that been like, you know, just the contrast of preparing for one thing but then actually ending up performing in another type of performance that wasn't competition but meant just as much, I would imagine?
Yeah, that was just the whole build-up and preparation for regionals that didn't go ahead. The whole build-up of it was awesome. Like, you know, whakawhanaungatanga was there, and that's what it was for me. Although we all go, you know, at the end of the day to stand on stage and represent your whānau and your iwi, just being able to meet new people and just vibe.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And, you know, it was a hard pill to swallow, as I'm sure it was for many other kaihaka of other rōpū. But, you know, tētai te aha I aua o me aua āhuatanga. So then when they set up the haka ngāhau festivals for Aotearoa, there was just another kaupapa for all of us to come together again and show everybody who ngā waihotanga is and what we're about. And I'm sure, you know, because a lot of people had only heard, but hadn't actually seen like who we were. And so being able to be a part of that journey as well was awesome. And yeah, it was a huge confidence booster. I hadn't been on stage for years. You know, the last time I stood was when I was at Turakina, and you know, my knowledge of kapahaka then was only small. And so but then I was fortunate enough to go to practices that whiringa was involved in and learn from the side, you know, that in for rōpū and Waikato. And that was, you know, huge. I learned lots just sitting on the side.
Just watching, eh?
Yeah, just watching. And I always had a passion, but I never had that confidence. And so when I heard that this new rōpū was being established, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna, you know, I don't know anybody, nobody knows me, so I'm gonna go and give it a shot. And yeah, and it was awesome. It was just awesome getting to know new people and just gaining a whole new whānau. Yeah. And
then, hello, she ends up the leader. Or seemingly is how it appeared to me, anyway. Ana kei te tuku hoki ngā whakaro ki Uncle Archie. Kei te mohi o tātou, ko ia tētahi tino tautoko i taua rōpū, taua kaupapa. Ai ana ka maringi tonu ngā roi mata mo te ngarohanga o tō tātou nei papa. So that would have had an effect on everybody too, I guess, eh? But how's that, right? So you go to, and it's quite amazing. I don't believe you didn't know anyone, because the way that the group progressed, because somehow I ended up on one of your pages. I don't even know how. It definitely wasn't because I was going to join. But just watching the progress and watching everyone go from sort of like, okay, we don't know each other, to just moving together as a pretty cohesive unit. I think that's the thing that's missed from people's knowledge about kapahaka. It's a team, right? It's not just about performing. You've got to create a bond, because when you're on the stage, just like if you're on the field, you got to have each other's back, because if one person's out, everybody's out. So yes, whānau, kapahaka e te iwi. It's probably not as promoted as it should be in the sense of what it can give for kids too, in regards to confidence, getting to know others as well outside of their own school, and in the sense of our tūkura who are involved. Nā reira, kei te mihi ki koe, Chelsea, one of our kaiako extraordinaires, me tōna rere hua hoki, me tōna ngā kaunui ki ngā tamariki e kuraina ki te kura o Ngāruahine rangi. We're very lucky to have you, Chelsea. Tēnā koe, o tira tēnā koutou, ko whakarongo mai nei ki tēnei o ngā ui. Anō nei ngā mihi ki koe e Chelsea, ko whai wā koe ki te noho tahi ki au. We had about 5 goes at it whānau. You know, she lives in Manaia. The internet, there's got to be something done about the internet in Manaia e te iwi. Maybe that's something for Ngāruahine to take up with, I don't know, the internet gods. But let's get there. Nā reira, do you have any parting message that you want to leave with everybody, Chelsea?
Do I? You know, if you have video, you know, and you're on your journey, just give it a go. You know, I was lucky to be forced, but in a good way, into that space to be able to use my reo. Nō reira, karawhiua i tō reo, tukuna ki te ao. Ai koera.
Yay! Ana he karere pai rawa atu tērā. E te whānau koutou rā e whakarongo mai nei. Mēnā kei a koe te reo, whiua ki ngā tōpito o te ao, kia pakari, kia tūpakari ai tātou, me tō tātou nei reo rangatira. Nā reira e te whānau, kia pai o koutou rā, hei ko nei, hei ko nā tūrau, hawaiki.